really want to do it twice tonight. So, call this meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, I believe we have a couple of student spotlights this evening. We'll start with the robotics team.
Things set up here. We're going to give you a little demonstration of our robot for this year. I'm probably going to move this podium a little bit out of the way after I'm done, but they'll set up while we're starting. Anyway, can I have all of our guys stand up, all right, and just be recognized? You can see that we are a mixture of both adults and students, okay? Our adults are mentors from the community, come in and share their expertise with the students, various subjects and expertise and skills, and it's just a wonderful program of apprenticeship that they offer. Okay, our students are from 8th grade to 12th grade. Okay, and we have a wide variety of categories of students, okay, and it's open to any students in our district. These are the few that have chosen to take advantage of what we have to offer. This year we competed in 3 competitions. We had very high aspirations for the entire season. Many of you, I think, were as disappointed not getting to the next level as we were. You were really rooting for us, and we appreciate that. And we wanted to take the time tonight to say thank you to our school district and school board for your continued support. Without you, we would not be able to get to our competitions and compete on the level that we do. We feel that we compete on a world-class level. And with your support, we're able to do that. So thank you. I said we love to win. It's in our nature, okay? We build to win, okay? And this year, the robot seemed as though it was going to be one of those years that we had something special, and we thought that. And we still think that. However, in the competitions, okay, it's all about getting back up and running again. We had many times that we had downfalls, literally, okay? We had a couple times that we fell over during playoffs, and that caused us not to be able to go on, okay? And what's our new logo, our saying, everybody? What? And then we fixed it. That's our new logo, all right? Our new motto, and then we fixed it. And that's really what it's all about, solving problems, okay? So we're winners when it comes to that. And I commend my students and mentors for their efforts that they did this year, okay? But it's not just about winning. We're winners in many different ways, okay? We were given 2 awards this year. We didn't win any competitions, but we came back with some hardware. Okay, one is the Team Spirit Award, and that shows you that there were adults talking to our students only, about our team, our community, our school, and they were able to portray our team before these adults, such as yourselves, from a wide variety of industries and things like that. The camaraderie of putting a team together and making it work. So we were recognized for that. Okay, the second award we were given is the Excellence in Engineering Award. That is something special. If I were to choose winning a competition and winning one of these awards, okay, I really like these awards, okay, because people are recognizing you for your efforts. Let me read the inscription of what this says. It says, the Excellence in Engineering Award celebrates the team that demonstrates a professional approach to the design process and whose design is elegant and advantageous on the field of play. The team, and this is written specifically about our team, this team tackled engineering of intake and placement from all sides. They have been playing with fire in the pit and on the field. These cats purr. They've demonstrated their competitive spirit in engineering. They are a great team. Okay, okay. Borrow that from Tony the Tiger. And that's what these awards are about. Okay, but really when it comes down to winning, okay, adults, you guys can sit down for a moment. Okay? This is about winning. These students. They're the true winners because they're going to do great things once they go from Tunkhannock High School. And we're just so pleased to be able to work with them and help them build the skills that they need for their future. And it's not all about building a robot, it's about building character and good qualities of being a good worker out there, skilled workers. So these are the winners, okay? This is really what winning is all about. And I say that as a faculty member who is retiring, okay? And you know, we've been winners for a long, long time here at Tunkhannock. Not just our robotics team, but all across the board. So Tunkhannock is very special, okay? All right, how about a little demo here? Can we get things together here? I'm just gonna move this forward. All right, this year's, hopefully you can catch me from this direction, okay? This year's robot was built to be able to pick up and distribute two different types of game pieces, a cone, okay, a construction type cone, and a cube, all right? So as you can see, it picks up very, very quickly, okay, and we're very pleased with being able to do that so quickly. It was one of the quicker picker-uppers on the actual playing field. So I'd give them a couple of opportunities to show you demonstration. Okay. This was kind of a unique implementation of the game, okay, being able to pick up quickly like that, both from the floor and from our human player, okay, which Aiden's going to demonstrate, okay? He has a cube that we're going to use, okay? And that design award said that we had two different ways of scoring, okay? And indeed we do, okay? Not only from the front with the big arm, but from the back with a conveyor system. And we were able to take in the conveyor system. Of course, it fell out, but in the real game, there's a barrier there that would keep it in. All right. So we were able to manipulate these components very rapidly. We're in slow motion right now, okay, because of the playing field here. Okay, but you can see we're very accurate with it. Okay. So, Megan, do you want to come up and just give us a couple of words from your self? I asked one of our team members to come up and just say a word or two. Okay, we'll try to keep it brief. Okay. And Megan.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan. I'm a spokesperson on the robotics team. First, I kind of just want to talk about the competition itself. That's really what I want to talk about. First is more than just robotics, as Mr. Howell said. It creates skills that can be used in all professions, from a teacher to a doctor to a nurse. No matter what you want to do, you're going to be able to use the teamwork skills that you learn on this team in life. I just want to say thank you to all of our parents, our mentors, our advisors, and of course all of you. On behalf of all of us, thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, do you want to say anything? Okay. All right. Well, do you have questions? Okay. We love to answer questions.
First of all, I just want to say, thank you so much. you're going to be deeply missed.
Okay.
Very much so. Mr. Howell is retiring, and you're going to be deeply missed. I have a feeling we'll still see you back in the engineering area back there and with our robotics team, but thank you so much. And I love this. This is, I'm tickled watching this. And we get such great also community support for the robotics team that there's so many people that do so many things. We have great parental support, such great volunteers, and you know, our students that are involved in robotics, I know it's extremely time consuming. I see you working on it. I see you putting in a lot of hours, and you deserve a great deal of credit. And I'm so proud for many reasons to, you know, be the superintendent in Tunkhannock, but certainly this is a huge part of it, and I couldn't be more proud of everything that you've accomplished with the robotics program.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Others
Are
questions?
you going to be coming back as the advisor next year, even though you're retired as a teacher?
I would like to continue working with the robotics team, yes.
I told you he wasn't really the Thank you.
Yeah, retirement, you have to have something to do, okay? This is, I can't think of anything better to do.
That's great. Thank you.
Others? Okay, well, we won't take up any more of your time. Thank you again from our hearts and souls, and this is 25 years that we've been doing this as Tunkhannock High School, right? So hopefully in 25 years, we'll be able to do it again, okay? All right, thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, we have certificates. If you guys want to come up, we have certificates for the team. So if you guys want to come up, whoever's here. First, we have Aiden Miller. Is he here? Yes, he is. Come on up. Next is Aiden Nelson. Well, then we'll put it on the side. That's right, I'll go to Mr. Howell. Aiden Pullman. Alex Sudam. Dante Squire. Oh, I'm gonna shake my hand first. Okay. Eric Art. Quinn Thomas. Sean Murak. Alexis Harding. Not here. Brandy Heckman. Brittany Sackman. Cora Milner. Cora's not here. Emily Campbell. Thank you. Thank you. Livia Forba. Hannah Milner. Megan Rickaby. Thank you so much. Thank you all, and congratulations. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, for our second student spotlight, we have the 7th grade coding class students and Mrs. Dominic.
Good evening, school board. I'm here to introduce Mrs. Dominic and her 7th grade STEM students. They were involved in a unique activity for the past 5 months, and so I'm going to let Mrs. Dominic explain more, but I'm really proud of their efforts this year and all that we're doing at the Intermediate Center.
Good evening. I know my students and I have been given a limited amount of time to present what we have, so I will try to move along as quickly as I can. My name is Jennifer Dominic, and I'm the computer science teacher at the Intermediate Center. In December, I was approached by Mrs. Johnson, who is our 7th grade principal, asking if I would be interested in a project-based learning activity. I almost cried when she said these words to me because I had no idea what she was talking about. And all I thought was, oh no, not something else. So we sat down and we started talking about it, and basically what it is it's bringing the kids in the community together in a learning fashion, and also allowing the kids to understand why they're learning what they're learning. So we are unveiling tonight 5 websites that we created with 5 local businesses. I went about and searched to see who didn't have a website out there in our community. I then contacted them and I said, hey, would you give us a chance? And they all agreed, and we are unveiling those tonight. This was by no means an easy accomplishment. We were given 13 hours approximately to complete the task. Once the students chose the specific business they wanted, they then started creating. And this was including page and graphic designing, logistics including lines, textures, fonts, coloring, and framing, using descriptive and persuasive writing, and the ease of the navigation throughout the website. So I'm going to start up. I have to be over there, but each of my students would like to talk, so they're going to come here, okay?
Projector.
Okay, first off is Madison Short. She designed a website for interfaith friends located downtown.
When making this website, my partners and I had to keep in mind that this store helps the entire community through its different services and charities. As a nonprofit, it was our goal to attract people to the beauty of what this place stands for and the mission it has to help others in need. That's why we brought in so many heart graphics throughout the pages. We specifically made a page of what services are offered to those in need and how you can give back by donating.
Next up will be Sarah Vaness. She helped design a website for Eclectic Heart.
My group had a wonderful time creating this website. We really thought it was a unique and sort of quirky store simply because they sell a wide range of so many different things. We all agreed that the periwinkle colored background with the various shaped borders would work really well. We developed 5 pages alone of just merchandise that is sold here. We were really pleased with the outcome. Thank you.
Next is Brenna Gregory. She and her team created a website for Todd and Rachel's.
My group spent a great deal of time developing almost 12 pages of different foods offered at Todd and Rachel's. They have a very extensive menu. It was really important to my group to find a color combination that represented fresh foods as well as the decor inside of the restaurant. That is why we decided on alternating between the beige and green throughout. We also wanted to make sure that the home page had links to all the other pages. That way, if someone was looking to order, depending on what they were in the mood for, they could click and be brought right to the selection of food.
Next up is Kinsley Sechrist. She was in charge of creating Ebb's Candy Jar and Landscaping website.
My
My group and I wanted to make this website feel like a candy store, with the pink and white frames and the brown lettering. I feel like we were successful. We had to advertise essentially 3 things in this website. It was not only the candy store, but it was also the landscaping business as well as the garden room that sits in the back of the property.
Finally, we have Madison Rosa. Her group is in charge of creating storage units plus that Mr. Wells owns on Route 6.
All of us in my group knew that the site had to be somewhat masculine. This is why we decided on a dark gray background with a plaid border and much bolder font styles. We divided the site into pages containing reasons one might need storage units to the sizes and prices of the available storage units. At the owner's request, we also created a page listing ways of making payments if you are renting one of the units. Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you to all of the students who participated on this journey with me. I'd also like to give a big thanks to the business owners who put their faith in my vision. Thank you to Holly and the board for allowing us this platform tonight. And one last thing for those business owners that are here, if I could meet you in the back, I have papers for you to take over these sites. Thank you.
So we'll start with Sarah Van Ness. Congratulations. Good job. Thank you. Kinsley Seacrest. Great job. Brenna Gregory. Also a fantastic helper at Trunk or Treat every year with the board. Madison Short. Thank you. And Madison Rosa. It's really a shame that people aren't more supportive of you. And then I guess they're not here, but we have Ian Barsh, Kiana Hannon, who I'm sure is with her mom for her birthday, Connor Teal, and Owen Rose. Yeah, sure thing. And thank you, Dominic. Great work to all of those students. Student spotlights are one of the favorite parts of school board meetings for I think a lot of us up here, so it's great to see what you guys are working on in your classrooms and your after-school activities. Moving along, we have superintendent's remarks.
Roll call. Thank you very much.
We did, sorry, I forgot roll call. That was at the beginning.
And executive session.
Yeah, the roll call. Yeah.
Mrs. Bennett? Here. Mrs. Eckert? Here. Mrs. Goebel? Here. Dr. Perbola?
Tardy, but here.
Mr. Widener?
Here.
Mr. Burke?
Here.
Mr. Farr?
Here.
Mrs. Arnold?
Here.
And Mr. Franco is absent.
Okay. Superintendent's remarks.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to address our community and the board. And I'm going to be very brief tonight because I know we have a packed agenda and with our student presentation. So first of all, thank you to the students that presented for the board tonight and for our community tonight. What a great job. And I just said to Attorney Audi, you know, it's nice to see students developing websites in grade 7. And you know, I love that we had such a strong contingent of young ladies in STEM activities. It's absolutely great to see. Our programming in this school district is just so impressive, the things that, you know, our students can be involved with. But again, great job, students that presented tonight. It's great to see a lot more faces than we usually see. I'm guessing that we have some extra people here tonight because they want to hear about our discussion about tennis courts, and I'm expecting that we'll probably have some speakers regarding that. We will be discussing the tennis courts in this meeting. That is on our agenda. And I just want to tell everybody, and we'll be talking about it, but there is lots going on behind the scenes to try to find a solution that I guess is financially responsible. A couple things. We had Special Olympics last week, and we're thrilled to bring Special Olympics back in. Boy, what a great event. We had multiple schools here. We had our students that were helping. It was just a very special event, and it was a tremendous success, great success, and I'm very happy to have that back operating here at Tunkhannock. And there was a great piece in the paper just on Wednesday about Special Olympics, right on the front page of the paper. Again, thank you for that coverage, but I can't think of a group that's more deserving. I'd also like to congratulate publicly, and I did on my Instagram account this week, but it's worth mentioning that Emily Seward is graduating from Keystone College with an associate's degree. She'll actually graduate from Keystone before she walks across our stage by a couple weeks. And she is the first high school student in Keystone College history to get a degree while still in high school. And we can't be, I can't be any more proud of her than I possibly am. We're thrilled for Emily and her family, and that's what a great accomplishment. Last night we had our senior awards nights, and boy, what an event. The way our community comes out to support students, there were 66 different presenters, there were 66 awards that were given out, but some gave out, not just one award, but 2 and 3 and 4. I can't even fathom the dollar amount that was presented to our students in scholarships last evening. But our community, the support is unreal. But it was great to be a part of and great to see. Also, just to bring everybody up to speed, our volleyball team is state ranked and they're still playing, and there will be a second round district playoff game on Tuesday at Blue Ridge against who, President Arnold?
Holy Redeemer again. We're rematching up against them.
Holy Redeemer, it's at Blue Ridge next Tuesday. If anyone's interested, tickets are on sale online.
Yes.
And but our
5:30
start, and our volleyball team is they're very good. They're very skilled, and they're fun to watch. Our softball team is also state ranked. There was a game, in fact, they're ranked number 1 in the state in 4A. There was a game outside when I came in. We were winning. I hope we won. I did not see the end of it. But our softball team is playing in the league championship on Sunday at 1 o'clock at Lake Lehman against Pittston Area. Pittston Area is the number 1 team in the state 5A. We're the number 1 team in the state 4A. And in the 2 games we've played, we've split this year. So I guess the grudge match is on Sunday at 1 for the league title.
And I believe that one has a $5 admission fee at the gate.
$5 admission fee at the gate. Thank you very much. I'll tell you, it's been a great school year, and I know sometimes minutes and hours goes by slow, but when you reflect, boy, has the school year gone fast. And there's only 9 school days remaining, and I would really like to congratulate our seniors on such a successful culmination of their Tunkhannock school careers. I think this senior class, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the first group that came to the high school in grade 8. So they've had a full journey through this building, and I got to tell you, I've gotten pretty close with this senior class, and boy, what an exceptional group of quality young men and young women, very serious students, just great for our community. It's really a special group. Graduation is upcoming. With the end of the year comes graduation, and that is scheduled for Friday, June 2nd at 7 o'clock right here in our stadium. There's no tickets required. We'd love to have it outside so we don't have to limit tickets. If it does rain, we plan on doing it the next evening, Saturday evening, 7 o'clock. We do have multiple events left at all of our schools, so I encourage any parents that aren't sure what's going on, please reach out to your child's school, and they'll happily tell you everything that's planned for the rest of the year. And again, thank you so much for allowing me to address our community and the board.
Excellent, thank you. All right, with that, I'll announce a couple of executive sessions. We met on April 20th. We did announce this one at the meeting, but just for good measure, we met after that board meeting for safety and security matters. On May 18th, tonight, we had an executive session for personal matters related to specific staff and legal matters related to security and emergency preparedness. After this meeting, we're going to adjourn and go to a brief executive session and not return. The executive session will be for, again, legal matters and guidance related to security and emergency preparation. We have an upcoming executive session on May 22nd for the annual review of safety and security protocol, which is a requirement of PDE. So those are announced executive sessions. With that, we're going to move on to the public comments on agenda items only. We'll just go through our public comment rule of thumb here. We're going to have 2 public comment periods during tonight's meeting. The public comment on agenda items at the beginning of the meeting and public comment on any items, agenda or non-agenda items at the end of the meeting. There will be a 4-minute limit per person per public comment period. When it is your turn, please come to the microphone, state your name, your municipality, and which agenda items you're speaking about. All speakers must be residents, taxpayers, students, or staff of the Tunkhannock Area School District. To object to any board action under Title 65, Part 2, Chapter 7 of the Sunshine Act, please go to the mic, state your name, as well as the section and subsection of Chapter 7 you believe is being violated. The presiding officer and/or district solicitor will make a determination on a stated objection. That determination is final for the purposes of tonight's meeting. And with that, we'll open the floor to any comments on agenda items.
Hi, my name is Craig Kaiser. I reside in Tunkhannock Borough.
Thank you.
I'm just asking the board if it would be appropriate to comment now or wait until the new business of the tennis court discussion or after the board meeting itself.
Now, if the tennis is an item on the agenda, so comment, we won't have another agenda item before we get to that subject, or another time for comment. So if you want to comment on that, now is the
And then
time.
we'll be able to comment as well at the
Yes.
end of the meeting on
Yes.
your discussion as well.
Yes.
Okay, I'll reserve the remaining amount of my 4 minutes and open the floor up to whoever else is.
Okay. And you get 4 minutes each time. So if you want to talk to us eight minutes tonight.
We've
Okay.
4 minutes before.
All right. Any other public comment on agenda items?
Hello, my name is Jordan Herbert. I reside in Tunkhannock Township, and I also work here at the high school. I just wanted to, some of the stuff that I wrote down was mainly what the parents and students and the athletes have been saying to me lately, and I just want to say that they care so much about this tennis program. We've had players spend hundreds of dollars and more on their own money, on their own equipment. They've spent hundreds, and in some cases even thousands of dollars on tennis lessons, and have spent countless hours in the summer programs that we put on for multiple summers. We've doubled the number of boys on the team in the last 3 years, and we currently have enough players to have 2 girls teams and 2 boys teams with some reserves as well. For the past 3 years, the girls have made it to team districts, and the boys made it this year. We have students who take multiple nights out of their week during the summers, and we constantly get about 15 students a night during the summer clinics, which we usually have about, we start off with 2 nights, and lately we've gone to 3 nights for the high schoolers. We have sign-up sheets in the middle school for programs for them as well, and we're hoping that we get probably hopefully at least 10 of them. We have many students who have been asking about when the summer programs will start, and we originally set the date for June 5th, hoping that we could start it by then. We like to say that these are the only courts in Wyoming County, and they're either in, we would say, the same shape or better shape than a lot of the schools or parks that we've played at since just the start of March. You know, we have a lot of coaches who tell us, you know, like, there's a lot of courts, I guess, that kind of been built around the same time for the schools, and they say that these are actually in pretty good shape compared to a lot of other ones. I'd probably say the worst one is Wilkes-Barre area, and they've continued to play in those for years. And they haven't really had any issues other than they're just not in great shape. If you go to any tennis facility in Lackawanna or Luzerne County, the cost is at least $40 an hour to play, and that's not including the price of a private lesson. Between the two teams growing and pickleball on the rise, these courts have been used just about every single day of the week by someone in the community. I'd say at this school, tennis and golf, after kids get out of high school, tennis and golf are really two sports that you can play for a lifetime. And luckily, students can learn both of these here at the school. So I will close with this. There are over 30 players and new ones that want to join in both middle school and the high school. We just checked the list today. We have 7th, 8th graders who have already signed up for the summer program. And many of them consider tennis to be their main sport, and we have quite a few who have had quit other sports just to come over and play tennis. So I would say that taking this, maybe possibly, we've heard some rumors, we didn't know exactly what was true, but taking this away from them would be devastating to the players, and it would make all of their hard work, time, effort, and their own money all for nothing. So on behalf of the students who have talked to me, some of them couldn't be here, they had work, some couldn't get rides, we're just asking that you come up with a plan that keeps the tennis courts and the tennis program going for many years. We've just, I think my brother and I, we started out with 6 players 3 years ago on the boys team, and now we have 15. And we have at least 3 more that are looking to join this coming year. So they were pretty upset kind of when they heard when the courts were closing, and they were coming to us asking if we could do anything. I said we would just show up here, voice our opinion, and we just hope that you do come up with something to keep this tennis program going, because we have a lot of kids that are looking to join. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on the agenda items? Okay, come on up.
Hi, my name is Zach Kaiser. I reside in Tunkhannock Borough. I'm a student here at Tunkhannock. I've been playing tennis pretty much my whole life. I'm currently a captain on the varsity team. I've been playing for 4 years. And for those who are not sure, about a week ago, our courts were shut down and the nets were taken down. We haven't been able to access them. And as Mr. Herbert mentioned, there are no other courts in the area, so we've been having to be transported to neighboring schools to get our practices in, since we're still finishing up with our district playoffs. And just to repeat, there's plenty of interest from the school. We have large teams, very successful. We've been doing well in the district playoffs, and as well with the community. It's a lifelong sport. People can play it when they leave high school, pretty much their whole lives. So I'm just asking on behalf of the team as well, that the tennis team can be given the same attention and care as other facilities, seeing as it is such a popular sport among the school and community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello there. My name is Laura Kaiser, and all of my 5 children have played on the district tennis teams, along with endless hours spent in the off-season, every season of the year. I have a few points, and many of them have already been addressed. I just have a bullet list here that I'm going to go through, just to highlight some of the issues. We do have both boys and girls tennis teams and have almost 40 students, and it's growing. We're a very competitive team amongst the PIAA District 2. We've had former players go on to the college level and even receive scholarship money to help with college costs, all because of their success on this team. The athletes have been trying to bring attention to the courts for many years, and I know we've received Band-Aid patches on the courts, but it's now left them needing this huge overhaul. Some things too that we've thought about is that there have been countless injuries with other sports, but we've never really shut down a sport because of it. Tennis is really a low maintenance sport when it comes to the district and to the budget. There's only 1 coach needed. We have 0 officials needed at any of the events. Students purchase their own rackets, much of their own equipment. So overall, it's a very low-cost sport. These are also used during phys ed classes. And we just ask that you don't consider cutting the sport as an option. We ask that you give it the same consideration that you would give other sports, such as football, swimming, track. Our kids matter just as much. One of the questions, I spoke with Kenny and I was wondering, like, when were these courts built? And the best answer we came to was 1996, 98. And if you look at that, that's 25 years that we got out of these courts that were not well maintained. So this is a decade-long investment if we invest in this for our community. You get a lot of value in return out of this investment, especially if we learn the correct way to maintain the courts and stretch that usage over even more decades. Can we look at repairs versus a complete overhaul as an option? Can we get funding from grants? Some are available through the United States Tennis Association, possibly the Tiger Fund for Excellence, community support, just lots of other options that we hope that you're considering. Again, tennis is a lifelong sport, and unlike other sports, does not end after graduation. Almost every day and every season, the courts are utilized by all ages, children, teens, middle-aged people, and even senior citizens. It's a sport that's played for a lifetime, if there are still courts. Please, we ask that you restore our courts so that they can continue to be used by our students, our athletes, and our entire community. Thank you.
Jennifer Brody from Northmoreland Township. I would like to echo also that the tennis program has been excellent for my daughter to start this year, and I hope that it also continues. I also hope that any of the costs associated with repairs or putting in a new court would not raise taxes. I think we're more creative than that to actually come to fruition. Another thing that I would like to hear during this discussion, I'm not sure what you guys planned for, but Mrs. Kaiser touched on a couple of them. Like what, you know, I've heard rumor, well actually no, I've seen an estimate of 500,000. I know in my research I've found that that doesn't look consistent with what other areas have paid for tennis courts. So I'm just wondering, you know, have comparisons been made to what other schools have done where they've had to do similar repairs or do replacements? Has anyone looked at any value engineering? Have we put it out for competitive bid? Are there any grant opportunities, things like that? So I would like to hear that during the discussion if any of, like, I've heard that a lot of work has gone on in the background, but I know I'm interested in the details of that to find out, you know, what all has been considered and where it stands. Thank you.
I'm Aiden from East Lemon Township, Aiden Edwards, and I just want to make one point that, real quick, that Tunkhannock has provided every PIAA sport, and I just hope that this won't become the exception, and I hope that you can find a solution to keep this tennis team alive.
Thanks, Aiden.
Any other public comment on agenda items?
Hi, my name is Missy Bonas and I live in Falls Township. I know absolutely nothing about tennis. However, for the last 10 years, I have been the tax collector in Falls Township. And I know what it takes for people to pay their taxes, and I know what this district gives back to people. And I know that one of the very few things that anybody in our community is able to use is our tennis courts. And I think it would be a huge shame if they were no longer an option.
Any other public comment on agenda items? Okay. Well, we will move into the agenda. We will definitely get to that tennis discussion, but I hope you brought a crossword puzzle or something with you until we get to that point. So we'll try not to make it take too long. Item, what are we at here? Six enrollments are there for everybody's information on pages 8 and 9.
The one comment I want to make about the enrollments, you know, we talk about enrollments over time, and we're down 50 kids from where we started the year. So it's 50 to 75 since 1975. So, I mean, so it's an important thing when we talk about choices around spending and taxes and all that, and all those items. We have a declining enrollment. It literally has not gone up a single year that I've reviewed since 1975, I don't believe. So, I mean, there could be an exception in there, but it, went from 5,000 to where we are now over that period of time. So I think that's important to note. And so and the other thing there is we have 105 or 110 people out of district for cyber. That's 2.8 million or something along those lines. And so, that's an unfortunate side effect of the way the current system is designed, but that's taking a lot of money away from local programs and tennis courts and everything else. And so any power we have to lobby our legislators on that is an important thing, and we don't want to forget about that.
Any other comment on enrollments?
No, I will just echo what Director Burke said. There's actually a bill on the Pennsylvania House floor that if a school district offers their own cyber program, then they can't be charged back for students that want to go to a separate cyber charter. So I would ask that people support that, because that's the equivalent of like close to $2.6 million a year.
Yeah,
just for our district.
So just for our district.
Just for our district. It's
Yes.
10. It's 10 mils.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Item number 11, 12, approval of minutes. 7. Sure. We've been here longer than 7, so. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
All right, a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. All right, item 8, business and finance. Do we have a motion for items 1 through 6?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
No.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Abstain.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item number 9, the superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend a resolution be adopted approving the personnel report as presented. On there is listed some retirements. Joanne Yanchek, who is a 3rd grade teacher at the IC. Her effective date won't be till September 3rd, but she did submit. Karen Franklin, our bookkeeper. Carol Giberson, secretary here at the high school. And Mrs. Costello, I don't remember if I did this last month, but she has revised. She will be retiring on June 9th, and we had a couple extracurricular resignations. Rich Appleby is no longer the equipment manager, and Amanda Golden has stepped down as head girls basketball coach. But I'd like to thank all of the people who stepped down from their extracurriculars or who are retiring. Certainly wish them well, and thank you for your service to the students of Tunkhannock.
Okay. Do we have a motion on item 1 and or 2?
Motion to approve 1 and 2.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Are we going to keep the volunteers separate?
Oh.
My name's on the volunteer list.
Mr. Widener is listed as a volunteer on the agenda.
Okay.
So can we vote on the volunteers separately?
Do you want to revise the motion to just item 1?
Revise the motion to item 1 and
Okay.
exclude, that's when we have to exclude the volunteers.
Yep, 1 and 2 excluding the volunteers.
Okay. Sure.
Two's not in.
I got to I got to state anyway. Oh, my daughter's on.
She's on, okay.
Summer program.
So you know what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to just do item number 1. Can we get a motion for item 1? And then if anybody needs to abstain from that, they can.
Motion to approve number 1.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second for number 1. And then anybody who is related to anybody that is doing anything on that list, you can abstain, and we should still have 5.
Because Hannah Eckert's on that list too.
We should still have enough people to pass this. All right. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Favola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
We're doing with the volunteers, I have to abstain.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying
Did she
here.
want to abstain?
She needs to
You
abstain.
have to abstain because of Hannah. So we
Where
are,
is she? I looked and looked for her name, I don't see it.
where is she on here?
Page 65.
Oh, she's a volunteer. She was.
Oh,
was a
volunteer.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking in the wrong spot. I thought she was supposed to be, I'm sorry, abstain, I'm so sorry. I thought, I was looking, I'm like, isn't she
So we're
supposed
not
to be
going to
on
get
there?
5. Okay.
That's what,
All right, I see what you're saying, because Andrew's not here.
No, we're going to get 5.
You're gonna have 5. yeah,
Dr. Favola?
as long as no, let's see if it passes.
Okay, we will get,
Mr.
we
Farr
will get,
abstained.
It should be
okay,
5-0.
so we are going to get, we will get 5. Yes, I vote yes. So that would be Goebel, Pergola, Burke, and Bennett and Arnold were yeses, and then 3 abstentions.
I'm abstaining.
Yes.
Phil abstains too.
Okay.
It
That was
passes.
way,
It passed.
it passed. All right. Item 2, which we
Motion.
could have just done with it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Favola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Okay, committee reports. We had the Building and Grounds Committee before this meeting. Have there been any other committee meetings that have happened or will need to be scheduled?
When was our last?
Was that last building? I think the last
Yeah,
building.
we had the other buildings and grounds. Carolyn, was that
Yeah, that was, I think it was the second?
second?
Yeah.
Okay,
We also had a buildings and grounds committee meeting on the 2nd, also about solar.
Correct. May 2nd.
okay. That was publicly advertised and available for people to attend.
Correct.
All right, do we need to schedule any other meetings? Okay, I guess not. So, item number 11, unfinished business, a review of the fuel cap for the transportation contracts.
Thank you very much. This is our every 3 months we revisit this. Currently, here's the fuel amounts for May. The cap for diesel, if you recall, is $5. The cap for gas is $4. We are not at either cap. In May, the diesel ranged from $3.02 to $3.23, still far below the $5 cap, and gas ranged from $2.56 to $3.04. So we are still very far below the cap.
So the course of action then would be revisit this again in 3 months?
3 months, we
Keep doing
just
the
keep,
3-month
yes.
update? Good.
As long as the board will continue that, I'll just put it on every 3 months, just to make sure we're staying up to date.
Say come August,
Yeah.
before school starts, we
Yes.
Yeah. And at some point we drop that because I don't think commodity costs are headed to a direction that's going to cause us. I think we just get rid of that eventually.
Okay. Item number 2, the 2023-2024 budget update.
We had presented a proposed budget last month for your consideration, and a proposed final budget was passed by the board for a 0 mil increase, and I just wanted to update you. We work on the budget every single day. There's not a day that goes by that we don't have some discussion related to, how to try to save money. Just based on where we are in a month, if you recall, with the 0 mil budget, that was proposed to have a deficit of just over $1.1 million for 23-24. At this point, through some staffing that we were looking at, and we're trying our best to estimate what a state contribution would be conservatively, and we're estimating the state additional state funding of approximately $250,000, which is actually pretty conservative, and they are proposing about double that, but we have to wait to see what happens with the budget. But with some positions we think do not have to be backfilled, and with a conservative request, we think that right now with a 0 mil budget, it would be about $576,000 shortfall. So, in just in the last 30 days, we were able to kind of look at this and lower that about $500,000 of what we're looking at, and we'll continue to explore over the next month for when, because we're going to have to pass a final budget in June. hopefully on our June 15th board meeting, that we'll work very diligently trying to get that lower.
Holly, you good with discussion on that item?
Yes.
A couple things. Dr. Suppan had sent this out to the board, so I just want to mention a few things as we look at benchmarking with other neighboring districts, because there's been some conversation. I think Dr. Pabola and I looked at this, is a couple of years ago in terms of what our dollar spending is per student, and we were out of line with some neighboring districts, and that data has really closed now. And so Wyalusing, Tunkhannock, Elk Lake, Montrose, and Trail are all about $20,000 per student. And so we're right in line with those neighboring districts. We do see some of the, a little bit more urban districts with less. And so, for example, Wyoming area was 17,000, and Lake Lehman was 18,000. And so there's some structural differences between them, especially around transportation. You think about Wyoming area as a very different transportation net than what Tunkhannock would. So I feel good about that. I just pulled up, and these aren't the official numbers. I know I have a graph somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Our budget back in 17-18 was somewhere around expenditures around 50 million, and we're 5+ years later, and right now we're projecting total expenditures of $3 million more than that. And so that's some pretty good cost controls, knowing what's happened with our labor contracts and wages, health insurance costs. And so I don't know what the final number was, but Christine was saying, I thought it was like 8%.
It is. It's about 8%.
Our insurance increase year over year.
Yes.
And so you look at that, I mean, it's one of those things where had we not done some of those tough decisions around schools and not backfilling folks when they retired, this tax situation would have gotten out of control. So for that, I feel like we've made some really good strides. That being said, as we look at the projections as we go out the next few years with fixed salaries and benefits, and then the loss of revenue around P&G's tax appeal, and then some of the things coming back with ESSER, there's some significant hurdles that we're going to have to work on over the next few years. But we're going into that in a much stronger position than what we thought we would be 5 years ago. So I appreciate you cutting out as much as you could on that budget so far.
One of the benefits this year is reduction in debt payment.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it was a huge deal.
That makes a big difference.
Big difference.
And the pension and the health care are two uncontrollable costs.
Correct.
The pension's gone up every year since I've been on
We
the board.
have gotten the pension rates for like the next 7 years. That has been given to us, but it actually decreased fractionally this year from
like
35
32 to 31 or something.
It went from like close to 35 down to 34, but then each year it increases. So like 7 years out, it's going to be at like 40%, which is significant.
And this is a long time ago, but that rate back in 07, 08 was something like 5%.
It was like 8%.
Yeah, it was some small
Yes.
number, and so the district's cost to the pension system was a couple $100,000, and now we're in that $2 million sort of range.
Correct. So every dollar we pay in wages or salary, 40 cents additionally goes to, Pacers.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the pension system still is under 60% funded.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's dictated to us by the state, and any private business would be paying less than a third of what that cost is.
Yes.
For retirement benefits.
I will say that we were really digging into some data on local districts, and I did not bring it with me. I'll bring it to the next to the June board meeting. But PDE has a really neat formula that shows equalized mills. So if all things were the same, what's the millage rate? And you could compare any district in the state of Pennsylvania. And with the districts that just touch us, we're actually in the middle. We're not the lowest, and we're not even close to the highest.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to compare with the size of the budgets, but we actually found a tool that allows that.
That'd be really interesting to take a look at that. So, yeah.
We're at 16.2.
Yeah, and
that's our equalized mills. Trails at 19.6, Montrose 13, Elk Lake 15, Wyoming area 22, Lake Lehman 15, Wyalusing 19.9.
So like Wyoming area with the lower per cost, their millage rate on the taxpayers
is higher.
Is actually higher, all things considered.
Interesting.
Yes, it is, and I don't know if you saw what Lackawanna Trails proposed, budget passed for. Now they sit in Lackawanna County and Wyoming County. They were proposing a 7% increase on Lackawanna County and a 3% increase in Wyoming County.
Wyalusing's going up as well, I think.
There was a huge jump too. Yeah, I saw in the Rocket, it was a big number.
Yes.
Right, but we're going to keep plugging. I'm confident we'll come in with a better number than 576.
And obviously, we don't know when the state's going to finalize.
We don't. So I'm going to, again, do my best estimate. In the initial proposed budget, Governor Shapiro allocated about $700,000 that would be coming our way, which would be tremendous. That would get us to just about balance. In all reality, I doubt we'll get 700, but if we could get half of that or 400, that would be,
big help.
Yes, that would put us in a pretty strong position.
Okay. So we vote on that then June 15th?
Hopefully, yes.
Right, hopefully.
Yep.
Okay.
Unless, unless there's some turmoil at the state level at that point, because they have to pass by the end of June also.
But we have to have the vote before the end of June.
Correct.
Okay.
Chuck, thanks for doing that work.
Yeah,
Yes, thanks for that
Appreciate
update.
the data that you guys administratively got. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, moving along to new business. Update on the right to know requests for the 2022-2023 school year.
Thanks. I kind of went back and forth on providing some commentary on this, but I just got to say the amount of right to know requests that we receive, it's immense. And I reflect on my own words, my own actions every day. With all these right to know requests, it's getting hard not to believe that and this is my opinion, that in an attempt to almost keep us busy and almost like with the aim of damaging the daily functioning of the school district. And that's frustrating. I used the term earlier today with some of my staff, and I mean no offense, but it's almost like paper terrorism. And I don't mean to make light of that word, but it's costing significant amounts of money and requiring multiple hours of attention from the assistant superintendent, from our IT department, from Mrs. Lawson. And, I could be wrong, but it just seems like it's an intentional activity intended to disrupt our operations. I mean, given the time-consuming and costly procedures it takes to process and respond to the large amounts of paperwork. And, I don't want to make light of, the using such a, I guess, strong phrase, but it's hard not to reflect and kind of come to that conclusion. But as of right now, for this school year, we've received 66 right to know requests. 4 additional ones were received since the last board meeting. 65 have been fulfilled or partially denied. 1 right to know request is yet to be filled. 7 appeals have been filed with the Office of Open Records for this year. 3 have been denied, 1 dismissed, 1 was pending. 1 was granted and denied. Part of it was granted, part of it was by us, part of it was denied, and part of it was dismissed. And there was 1 that has been withdrawn. So far this school year, $52,423 have been spent on attorney fees to date for this school year. And I just want to say, in the last 30 days, we received $30,000 in bills just from vetting right to know requests. District staff, just since March 1st, have spent approximately 45 hours working on right to know requests.
And that 45 hours is not, that $52,000 is not inclusive of the salaries that we're paying those people who have put in the 45 hours.
That's correct. That's correct. So, we'll have more legal bills because the 52,000, we're working on ones right now with our law firm. So those bills have yet to be received.
Right. I don't think that it is making light of that word because I have personally seen it referred to as by one of the people who are one of the most prolific with this as death by 1,000 paper cuts is the intention. So, it's very unfortunate. $52,000 is 10% of a tennis court, right? So, 4 tennis courts, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions, comments on the right to know requests? All right, item 2, the TASD Visa account is there for your information, as well as the summary of Kelly Services substitute teacher fill rate. Any discussion on any of those? All right, so the main event for some of our audience members, the discussion on the condition of the tennis courts.
I'll jump right in. I'm going to ask John Shapolsky. John, you want to come up to the podium just so we could, I'm sure you'd love to put him right on the spot. But we have been talking again with, the engineering firm that we engage with, Dewey Engineering, about the capital projects, and this was one they initially had looked at, and one of the engineers, Ethan Fick, who did it, he's actually here. He's sitting right down front. We asked him to be on call, and he was nice enough to say, hey, I'm just coming up. And we appreciate him taking the time and being with us. Board, if you remember, we had talked about this in December as tennis courts being potentially one of the projects that we would be looking at with some capital improvements. And I guess, myself included, I'll speak for myself. When you start to see the number that came out with the tennis courts, it looks like a massive number. And the more I've spoken to Ethan, Mr. Fick, about the engineering behind it, and you realize that it's much, much more than just the surface. Really, the issues are all in the subsurface and the water drainage, and I'm not going to pretend I'm an engineer because I'm certainly not, but there's a subsurface issue. And John has had multiple contractors here, multiple paving contractors, multiple people in looking at it, and 2 paving contractors flat out told us, I won't touch it. And we said, what if, we don't warranty, we're not asking for a warranty, and basically they said, well, if this is my name going on this project, I'm not going to do it. And the one, we're getting some large numbers when we even talk to these people about redoing it.
Yeah, so I had 2 companies come in over the course of the last few months. One, AT&T Sports, they do tennis, installations. They also do repairs and things. Again, the condition of the base of the court is the issue. Can we patch, what's there? Certainly can, but nobody will give a guarantee that those courts won't move again and they won't re-crack. Another one we had in, they won't touch it. They don't want to leave their name on it. Regardless of warranty status, they don't want to be attached to it. Another company that I dealt with, Enacon, they service all kinds of industrial applications. They do bridges, they do concrete restoration. So they work with epoxies and polymers, and they feel as though they have a product that will fill those cracks. But again, their product may not fail, but through freezing and thawing, the courts are going to move. So their product will stay in the crack, but if the court moves, the crack will reform, and of course, the fill will go into the crack further. So, I'm going on year 6, unbelievably, and we've patched that twice a year, every year since I've been here. And the cracks they're significant, and they are not surface cracks. There are some, but it's right down through to the base. So it will be hard to find somebody that would do a repair and give us any type of warranty on it.
We did meet with the contractor again.
We did.
Earlier, when was it? Earlier this week or late last week? And
Universal Pavement came out.
Yeah.
Seemed to have some really good ideas and offered to do some testing on, some of the cracks to see if he could have some success. Again, I don't think there was any promise there of any warranty, but, we'll have further discussions with him, and I think, we'll try to give that a shot at least to see what we can come up with.
And if the board recalls, and I did share, the estimate from December again, and just to touch on what Mrs. Brody brought up, we never put this on the street for an RFP, right? This is an estimate. This is a construction estimate. So, that had a 30% or a contingency fee in there. That had some inflation fees in there. I mean, we could issue an RFP. I mean, and see how people bid it. I mean, from what I understand, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, essentially, we're starting from scratch. Like, they're gonna demo.
We're not only starting from scratch, but we're doing a demolition, which is also, you know, basically putting us at a negative from start, because not only do they have to demo it, we've got to get it all tested and landfilled properly. We just can't go dumping the tennis court material anywhere. So we're actually at a negative before we even we do anything.
And I think it's just a lot of what do we do with the water
right
that goes there. Ethan,
Yeah,
am I saying
and
that correctly?
and I
Like,
think Ethan, he could probably comment on exactly what has to happen underneath what we see. I think the details are more in what we don't see.
first of all, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, no problem.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If we're going to demolish the current tennis court and put in everything brand new, is that the spot they should be if there's a water issue?
I can't answer that.
Should we move where the tennis
So
courts
the-
belong? Is
the-
there a better place to put them?
The location is fine that's there now. The problem
But they
is,
just said that it's a drainage problem.
well, there's a couple issues going on with the tennis courts. One is the cracks are there, so they're allowing water to get underneath the asphalt, and that's creating the freeze-thaw cycle that's there. The other is just to replace the drains due to the age. 25 years is a long time for a shallow set drain to not get clogged or have some issues. So the cracks are causing a problem, just like with any pavement project. Once the cracks are there and you don't fill the cracks with a crack repair, the moisture gets in there and freezes and thaws.
So let's just talk through alternatives. So the do nothing is not an option. We have to do something. So
We'll
that,
do something
right.
regardless.
Right, so let those two companies that thought maybe they could patch them, like, what's the dollar commitment in terms of an estimate there, like
I think
ballpark?
last time, John, that we, on an annual year-over-year basis, I think we spent somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000 just on materials.
Yep.
And then we did it in-house, so.
Right, if we're
you know,
paying somebody else to do it, it's gonna be 20,000 or something.
I think it'll end up depending, and I say that because the contractor that came this week, he had told me, and nothing's on paper yet, but there's some stuff he'd be interested in trying but it would literally only be a Band-Aid. It's gonna buy us maybe a year.
Correct.
A year, maybe two. But he was saying that he might be willing to come in and do the Band-Aid, like, at no cost to the district, just because he doesn't know if it would last, and there's some stuff he'd be interested in trying.
Yep.
That, there's no guarantees to this or to that, but that was Sean Calkins with Universal Paving. He came to see it.
And he had some great ideas about how to approach it. I mean, that's what those guys do for a living. They, they do repairs. His exact words when we were kind of departing and had looked over everything was, we can tidy it up, make it safe, buy you guys some time until you can budget it and get it done properly. So.
But this is not gonna buy us 5 years or 10 years. This isn't something we're gonna do again in 2 years. Like, we need to have a plan for what happens next. This is, let's just keep these kids on a court in the fall.
So it's need a short-term and a long-term solution.
Yes.
How long does it take if we did something like totally redid it, like that's like a 3-month project, a 9-month project?
Nah, 1 month tops.
So it's not like it doesn't
Yeah,
impact the season?
it's just like paving.
Would that include the demolition, like tearing it down? and
Yeah,
rebuilding?
demolition will go really quick.
And it's only
Just asking.
It's already happening by itself.
Like
Yeah.
summer, like is it only a summer? You can't do that like after a season, right? So it's got to be something has to not happen. Either the spring season doesn't happen, the fall season, or the summer program. Right?
Yeah, it's got to happen during some time of the year, and it can't happen between November and
Probably April,
March. Yeah, the paving plants just shut down in the winter for maintenance.
If we were to decide to complete redo them, complete rebuild, given the time of year we're at now, could it take place this summer? My guess is no. But you know more than I do.
We'd be hard pressed to get it done this summer. It would still get done this year. I can't remember if tennis is a fall or a spring sport or
both.
Both.
Okay, it's both. So the fall season would be in jeopardy.
So probably we were looking at next year at the earliest.
So a couple of things. Thank you so much for coming, John. Thank you. So I heard from the community a couple of things. Number one, I think the kids brought up, are we thinking about getting rid of tennis? I personally, we're not getting rid of tennis.
No.
Right. That I think right now is at least my opinion. That's number one. Number two, I think we're here, we need a short-term solution to repair the cracks, keep it in-house or with the paving gentleman you said, try to get the summer clinic for the coach and the kids going safe, because I don't want anybody to get hurt. The cracks, I think, on court 4, and I call it court 4, are the biggest.
Toward the weight room.
The last one, towards the football field. So that is the one, at least when I would walk down there, that's the one I would be most concerned about. I think courts 1 and 2 towards the girls' softball field are in good shape. I have a question, I don't know if anybody's here. How many courts do you need for a tennis match? Anybody know?
3.
Louder, I can't hear you.
We need at least, 4 courts is preferable because we have 5 matches.
Yeah.
We've done it with 3 before.
Okay.
That was pretty late tonight.
Okay. So 3 is the minimum, is kind of what I'm, a quick summary fashion. 3 would be the minimum. Okay. So I'm just trying to think ahead, because the long-term solution is what we have to grapple with. Number one, like Lori said, do we move them? Do we demo them and move them someplace that doesn't have drainage issues, or do we keep them there? The cost, however, is huge.
Huge.
And I heard, Jen, I think we want them fixed, but we want to raise taxes. So something in that formula is going to have to give, and that's going to be the hard discussion. A $500,000, and I know, Paul, you gave an estimate. When we put it out for bid, maybe it's going to be a little bit less.
Maybe it's less, maybe it's more. You don't know.
Maybe there are some grants. Chuck, maybe Mary
We've
Jean?
already contacted USTA, and
Okay.
their maximum grant's like $35,000. And don't get me wrong, I'll take every dollar of that $35,000.
So maybe we look at a little bit more. Maybe we try to research that. Maybe the tennis coach and the athletic department just kind of give us a little bit of help with that. So get a little community involvement possibly.
Yeah, just so you know, I sent United States Tennis Association, I did send them an email today to start exploring that grant. But again, Mr. Doherty's right, it is a max of $35K.
And
I have a couple questions. Well, first, I think that it's a no-brainer, in my opinion, that we issue the RFP and see what those numbers come back as. There's not a lot involved with that, right? Like, we're putting it out there, people put in their bids. It's not a huge, costly process just to get that back.
I think you were reading my mind, so if there's minimal cost to put it out for bid and it gets the process moving along. The board has no commitment at that point to approving it. You just get the cost back, and then you make a decision if that's the route that you want to go. John and I were just talking, there's not much difference in cost to select a new location and do the courts between, basically replacing it where it's at. The advantage to going to a new location is you can limp along with the courts that you have and maintain consistent tennis playability.
I didn't hear that. Can you say that again?
Yeah, so the option of selecting a different location for the tennis courts to be installed on is about the same cost as it is to replace them in kind where they're at. The advantage to moving them to a different location is that you'll still have the courts in place to be able to use until the new courts get built.
Well, which brings up a secondary point, because if the first 2 courts or the first 3 courts are generally usable, then we convert them to pickleball or do something different with them if they're not a hazard. Because we hear about the community wanting to use courts and do things, and so, if it's an equal cost, plus the traffic kind of stinks back there, quite honestly. Like, we got baseball, the weight room, the track, everybody's driving on that back road. If we had another location, it might be an interesting thing to think about doing something like that.
The question is, where's that other location? Where would that be?
Right.
Somebody brought up, or Bob Barkley brought up in an email to, I think, all of us,
Yes.
about the fact that there's nothing, there isn't anything else in the county. I wonder if there wouldn't be like county grants?
We were kicking that around. I mean, I just said to Dr. Supon, I think we have to explore if the county has any ESSER 3 funding left, because for an outdoor activity, ESSER 3 monies, you can allocate that. Because our courts do get used by the community significantly. There's probably not a day in the summer when I'm here that someone's not using those tennis courts. In fact, we've gotten multiple requests to add a pickleball court. Dr. Supon was at Rotary today, and they cornered him about adding a pickleball court.
Now, my understanding, I talked to John a little about it today, was that it's just a matter of the lines. So I think we could have,
it is.
you know, Kenny check with PIAA, is it okay to have 2 sets of lines on a court that's being used for tennis, that they could also be pickleball lines?
It's just net too. The tennis nets, I think 2 or 3 inches higher.
I don't know. I don't know
for hacks
anything
like
about
me,
it,
a pickleball doesn't really.
But it is. It's it's very popular, but our courts do get utilized a great deal outside the scope of just our tennis seasons. I think that if we patch them right now, and again, educator, not engineer, I think we'd be fine through the summer, we'd be fine through the fall, and then what happens when it freezes? What's the spring going to look like? And
The court, no matter what we do to the cracks for going into the fall, I'll guarantee that it will be in nearly the same condition as it is right now.
Yep.
And now, right now, there's about a 3 or 4 inch gap in between court 1 and court 2 that the courts move. And once it starts drying out, they actually move.
Well, I mean, the other question to ask, a couple of the parents mentioned it. I'm not trying to be an instigator here, but how much did we pay when the track needed to be taken down to studs, what, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that?
120.
You know, because of some maintenance issues from years ago that weren't done. Like, you know, we didn't question whether to do it, we just did it. And, you know, I understand that surrounds the football field, but that's one sport as well. That's track that uses that. So if it was $500,000 and we got 30 years out of it, that's about $17,000 of investment a year. Throw a couple thousand on a year for the fact that it's going to need some maintenance. That's going to have to be done. But am I mistaken? I thought we already took this $500,000 out in that bond or that loan.
We did.
And then we decided not to do it.
Correct.
So it's that money's still there.
So we're paying for that money either way.
Yes.
Right. We were looking at that funding after that decision was made. We were looking at that funding for additional air conditioning in classrooms.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with everything you just said, Holly. I just think it happens to be tennis, which is why this could be anything. Like, it just happens to be tennis. So I'm fully in favor of making this program continue to go forward. Don't read me wrong. I also think we as a board, as time has gone on, we need to realize that it's money coming in and money going out. And so the only lever we have we've worked a ton on that money going out by cutting costs and staff and things. You know, I remember when I joined this board, I was told that we had 98% fixed cost. And yet we've cut out millions of dollars since that point in time. And the expression that we used at P&G back in the day, Paula, is we keep going halfway to the wall. And so there's some baseline expense that we're not going to be able to cut. And so we as a board need to make these decisions are going to get tougher over the next 5 years because we did the easy work, which the easy work was hard. It was shutting down schools. It was, you know, not backfilling certain programs. And now as a new program comes up, we're going to have to decide, do we raise taxes or do we cut that program? And so I just wanted, you know, it just happens to be tennis where we're having this conversation. But that's the reason why I think this issue got pushed is, you know, that money's there, but there's going to be some other capital project that's going to break or some, you know, the windows are going to need to be done. And so if we have no leverage on the state money coming in, and so we're trying to get revenue with the solar and stuff like that, but it's going to be very minor. And so the next sets of expenses are going to be the programs that we're doing unless we're raising taxes. And so we got to be smart about doing a combination of cutting costs and doing some reasonable tax increases. And so that'll tie into our budget discussion, next time. But, we came off of a period with 7% inflation and healthcare going up 8%, and we voted a 0 mil tax increase. So I like low taxes. That's a key tenet of my beliefs. But I also don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're seeing what's happening in Lackawanna Trail and Wyalusing, which are huge increases next year because we didn't do the reasonable thing as we're going forward. So I don't mean to hijack the tennis discussion with the budget discussion, but the two are very much linked together. So I think you're right, Holly, though, in terms of next steps. Let's get the RFP. Let's look at the temporary actions because we have to do that anyway to maintain the summer programs, and then we figure out what's the best option. But if the costs are similar, I really like the idea of relocating those courts somewhere else and then seeing how, if it's at all possible, to have some usage of them for a different purpose possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want to be in a situation where we're having this conversation in 6 months again or in a year again because we did this patch thing, because I kind of wondered at the time what our plan was going to be, because we said we have to do the tennis courts, and then there was some community pushback about the tennis courts, and the tennis courts came off the table, but their condition didn't miraculously get better in that time. So now we have this conversation 6 months later, and what are we talking about 6 months from now and 6 months from then, and how do we do that in a way that is mindful of the budget but also maintaining?
Yeah. I mean, I think specifically on the tennis, in my opinion, some good points were brought up in the sense of it's a very low-cost sport once you get the capital equipment done. And so some of the other sports we have a much higher cost ongoing, like football, for example. You have referees and the coaching staffs are significantly higher. And so that helped me think a little bit differently about the upfront cost versus some of the other programs that we're running. So I appreciate the community input on that stuff because it definitely matters.
And football is not a lifelong sport by any means.
Yeah. I believe we're having to buy new helmets, I think I heard this year, and they're like $25,000.
We're spending about $16,000 on
16?
helmets this
Okay.
year. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, helmets you can only refurbish for so many years, and then they get decertified.
But I think that's, Holly, that's John's point. Like, it just happens to be tennis.
It's going to be whatever the next big
like
thing is.
6 months from now, we'll have decided to do the tennis courts, but the next big, whatever, the windows in the primary care center, will be an issue. And
Right.
it's like, what do we do? So you can't, at some point, it costs more tax dollars. Like, that's, $587,000 is
2
2
mils.
mils.
But that's an estimate too.
Right, that's an estimate. And even if it was concrete, it's 2 mils.
Well, and I think, so there's some things that are positive they're going for us, right? I mean, we're still, I look at this tennis court situation as things that we're dealing with from like leadership 2 generations ago of this board. You know what I mean? That was 2 superintendents. There were a lot of things that weren't necessarily being taken care of, and all of these things are going to come home to roost because that's the nature of the beast. So I feel better about that when we do have to spend some money, because I know that John and his team and the engineers, they're looking at the holistic picture and they're telling it. I don't feel like we have a lot of surprises waiting. Now, there's no wood for me to knock on here, I suppose right there actually. But I mean, you guys have a pretty good handle on what the big things in the district are and when they're going to come home to need to be addressed. Not everything, no.
That's John's
but
caveat.
I mean, the PC is probably not, I'm not going to even say that out loud, but I mean, it's like, we know it's going to need a new roof maybe in 5 years. We know, we can predict these things and we're looking at them pretty regularly.
And we have 2 schools that are, 50 years old. I mean, at some point, there's going to have to be significant investments. Now, those buildings are in pretty good shape. I mean, John and his team do a great job maintaining them. But again, you have we have 2 50-year-old facilities. That's going to have to be addressed at some point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to issue the RFP. We don't need to vote on that, so.
Do we need to vote on doing some sort of Band-Aid short-term fix?
They'll keep working
Well, we'll
together
move
on
ahead
that.
with that anyway.
So with the RFPs, though, I think maybe just a little bit of planning before we throw out an RFP. Because if people come in, if we have an alternate site, it might just be something to get an RFP on that as well.
Well, I think we'd have to use that as an alternate, a different site.
Yeah, that would be an alternate.
Yeah, so that'd be one of the alternates. If it's in Site A, it's this. If it's in Site B, it's this, yeah.
John, would you have an idea of where different placement of the tennis courts would be?
Right in the middle of the football field. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Dr. Paul.
Around it.
In the pool.
We'll keep the band, don't worry.
There's a potential that Mary's one would be behind the softball field, moving up toward the guardrail. I think it was originally there anyway years ago.
It was, and 50 years ago when the school was built, is where the softball field is, yeah.
So, I mean, that's, there's some room there we used for practice football, but we could also put the football practice field where it should be.
Yeah, the football, I think the junior high gets over there too, but I think there's room there, especially if we,
Well, and if we take down those tennis courts, which I
Does it-
think ultimately would happen, that'll,
does it have to be at the high school? Are there other,
That would be a transportation thing, I don't think.
okay.
I know it's not awesome for soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have an alternative site, you build the new ones, the old ones are still there, you can use them, you don't have any break in usage.
Right, but once the new ones were built, then we could look at taking them down,
Then-
because the safety and
then it's a new
whatnot
issue,
issue, yeah, isn't an eyesore.
That may open up, get on that safety thing, we do the javelin inside the stadium, that may open that up where we can take that out of the stadium and put it in a little bit better location as well. Those tennis courts.
Oh, see? Look I've got you covered on all bases here.
It's still gonna be unsafe over there when the kids are running in the practice field. I mean,
But there really shouldn't be anybody right there at that time, right?
there's practices, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got field hockey over there, right?
That's a heck of a throw though.
Well,
Remember who you're talking to.
so I just think the alternate site is something that you have to, at least maybe the tennis coach talk about that too as well. Yeah, yeah.
But we're gonna continue with the short-term solution. But, I like putting the RFP out. It doesn't do us,
And the-
all we're gonna do is gather information by doing that.
It was shut down because you received a letter that they were unsafe, correct?
The high school administration and AD received, written, a written notice that they felt the courts were unsafe. And I'll be honest with you, when that happens, when that happens, how do I, I'm not an engineer. I can't say, yes, they are. I'm not going to I can't ignore that.
Which is why you closed.
Yes.
Yes, we don't want anybody to get hurt.
No.
No,
That's irresponsible if we don't act on that. So we
Correct.
did the right thing.
Correct.
And it shows you that it was missed by the community, because within, 2 to 3 days after we took the nets down and locked the gates, people were on social media saying, hey, does anybody know when the tennis courts are opening again? So,
And what's the length of time? So putting the new, doing what's on this paper, then they are 10-year or 20, when do we talk about this again? How old will I be? Medicare, I'm sure.
You'll be on Medicare.
we all won't be on the board, I would guess.
A good time frame is at the 10-year mark is to do some maintenance on them. Paving on non-trafficked areas can sometimes get to 20 years. The 25 years that these courts have lasted is very, very long and very good.
You got the plan, Paul?
Yeah, got a plan.
Excellent.
Thank you
Got a
for the
plan.
discussion.
And, I'll work, John and I will work with Ethan, and we'll work to get out an RFP as quickly as we can, but we'll continue to move ahead with trying to find the
When's the
solution.
tennis clinic?
I mean, it might not be ready for June 5th, but we'll do what we can.
John Shapolsky, one last thing who did a similar this? Wyoming area?
Yeah, Wyoming area they did a full reinstallation.
Full redo, right? How many courts?
I think they actually only had 3, maybe 4 court, but they did lighting, I think.
They did lighting too. Do you have any idea what their cost was?
Existing lighting, I think they converted to LED.
Well, that's not super expensive.
I think it was around 435.
That's what I thought. I thought their courts were like low 400s. Okay.
I can't be 100% sure if it was 3 or 4 courts. I'm not
Okay. But that number of 400 is exactly what I think I remember.
And they included lighting.
Not for that. I don't think that
I think
was.
it was a retrofit. They had lighting, but they did a retrofit from, you know, whatever type of lighting they had to LED. So, and it's not that simple.
Yeah. Oh, an RFP will give us some good information.
Yeah.
We'll give you some options. Okay, thank you. Ethan, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 5, I think, right?
Yep.
Yes, all right. Motion to approve a contract for the structural pool repairs project at the high school. Contract is awarded to D&M Construction, Inc. at a cost of $164,300.
This is one of the projects that was approved for the board to move ahead.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 6, approval of application for payment number 1 to TJ Cannon Incorporated in the amount of $81,081.58 for the high school fire alarm.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
What's that total project coming in at? I thought we heard that's under by a lot,
Yeah,
right?
John, do you remember, John Shapolsky?
The alarms.
The
Fire
alarm
alarm.
system.
What's that trending at for the total cost about? Do you have any sense on that?
It was under.
The original contract was $408,000, and it is looking like the balance to finish plus retainage is $327,000.
Right, it was 400,000. We thought that was going to be significantly higher.
Yeah,
I think it was just under.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Nomination and motion to approve a school board treasurer by the name of John Burke to serve for 1-year term beginning the first day of July 2023. I threw the John Burke Park in there. But do we have any nominations?
John Burke.
John Burke. John Burke.
Okay.
You guys are
Do
sweet.
we have any other nominations? Okay. So I am assuming we have a motion and a second?
Second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any conversation or discussion or objection?
John, thank you for your service over the years. We appreciate it.
Yep.
We do.
My pleasure.
All right, roll call, please.
Well paid.
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes, absolutely. All right, item 8 is just there for your first reading of the policies listed below. We don't vote on them tonight because it's just the first reading.
You know what? That is a
Once again, Paul, these are the policies brought forth by,
Yep, we're working on the 600s. The 600s were
PSBA,
brought
okay.
forth by PSBA for updates. The 251 there was a minor modification that was recommended by Sweet Stevens, our law firm, that had to do with some special education language. The 4 on the bottom are, the 800s are just the typical PNN updates that come through that we should be updating periodically. In 709, we just reviewed our building security, to make sure that we're where we should be.
Okay. Number 9, approval of bus and van contracts as presented.
motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett?
Abstain.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Number 10, approval of budget transfers is listed for athletics and the intermediate center.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 11, motion to approve the transfer from the bond fund to the general fund in the amount of $2,373.89 to cover the Dewey Engineering Cost for the fire alarm replacement.
President Arnold, if I may, just for numbers 11 and 12, these are projects that were already approved. This is simply how we pay the bill. It has to get transferred into the general fund so we could pay the bill.
All right, do 11 and 12 together.
I love that plan. Let's go.
Motion to approve 11 and 12?
Second.
Sorry.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
No.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 13, motion to approve a memorandum of understanding for field placement between TASD and Drexel University School of Education.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. I believe we can probably put 14 and 15 together. These are all MOUs for the purposes of Dean of Students, summer credit recovery, and a certified pool operator to some of our personnel contracts.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is that putting a dean in each building?
Yes. Right, the PC.
Wasn't that just the agreement of a dean that was an oversight
So,
in the previous?
yes, well, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, the dean position is actually not, the deans are professional staff, they're teachers. There's no listing of dean in the CBA.
It might have been under a previous MOU or something like that, but we can't find it yet.
I honestly can't tell you that, but this just adds what we're currently doing to our current agreement.
Nothing, no changes, no increases, nothing like that. It's just
Just the language.
I mean, you go back on that page, we're going to put one in each building. That was my question.
No, we are not voting to put one in the intermediate center. This just is if we did, this is the current agreement that exists with
I just went back to the other page and was looking at.
Yeah. No, this isn't necessarily saying we're going to fill all those positions. We're saying that they can exist, and if they do, here's what they'll pay.
Correct.
And the certified pool operator, the person who does that now is retiring, and so we're putting a piece in there so we can get somebody else.
Certified.
Or at least we anticipate they might be, so.
Correct.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And that's a 14 and 50.
Yes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. 16, motion to approve memorandums of understanding between TASD and CANS of Wyoming County as listed for a space agreement for Brenda Mills to continue her work as a truancy home and to school liaison for next school year. A service agreement for Brenda Mills to work as a truancy home to school liaison for the 23-24 school year. And a lease agreement for classroom space for the pre-K counts at the former Mahoopany Elementary School building.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 17, motion to approve a settlement agreement for employee 1433.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 18, motion to approve a settlement agreement for student 53233744314.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 19, recommend that a resolution be adopted renewing a service agreement between the Youth Advocate Program Incorporated and the TASD for the 23-24 school year. The agreement includes 3 social workers at an hourly rate of $52.55 per hour.
Motion to approve.
Don't be shy, we need one more. We got one from Mr.
Second.
Perbola. Any discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
No.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 20, recommend that a resolution be adopted to engage in a lease agreement between Turf Tank and TASD starting in May of 2023 and ending in May of 2029, a 6-year agreement. The agreement includes the U.S. Turf Tank Pro Package for $16,000 annually and the U.S. Turf Tank Pro Package upfront implementation cost, which is a one-time cost of $1,700. The annual subtotal will be $16,000 and a one-time subtotal will be $1,700.
Is this the system we currently use?
No, so,
This is
this,
this is wild.
yeah, this is awesome, and it actually cuts cost. It's going to save us around $3,000-4,000 year one, and that's with an initial one-time $1,700 fee. It's a 6-year term we're going to lock into. Mr. Shapolsky went up to Mountain View, correct? Looked at theirs. It's going to cut it's less than what we budget currently for paint and just like repairs and stuff for our current machinery. And it's going to save hundreds, if not thousands, of man hours that we can reallocate elsewhere in the district. This is a machine that uses 1/3 the paint. John basically plugs in the data and it does the job of painting the fields itself, whatever he puts in there and codes it to do. And it's cheaper than what we're currently doing. And even with, it's cheaper currently, and even with inflation, most likely increasing paint costs and everything, it's going to save us more money. So we're going to save $3-4 grand year one, and then you have to reduce that $1,700 and then add in inflation, so it's going to be even more. So it's a no-brainer.
So this paint's fine in the fields?
Yes, it
Athletic-
lines the
athletic
fields.
Yep.
Straight lines.
Straight lines, yeah.
You on everything.
All of the fields.
It
Like this
lines
is what they'll use at soccer.
all the
This is
fields.
what they use at the football
Yep.
field.
All the fields, so like the man hours that go into painting the fields won't be, I mean, we won't allocate any of that. But also, we pay like $13,000 a year in paint. This includes the cost of the paint. And then also, there's no man hours that go into it, so now we could use our man hours in other areas.
So it's like a Roomba with paint
Yeah.
on a field.
Yes, but John has gone and witnessed.
I was going to say, I hope it works better than mine. So we'll see. Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I sat with John today talking about this thing, and he's telling how much more you can thin the paint down, and once it's set up to go, the man hours, that's where the savings is and stuff. I mean, you still have to fill it up and clean it up after, but it's still, you set the thing up and
This
turn
can do
switch
the
on and let her
logos.
go.
The what?
This can do logos.
Oh, logos.
Which is really cool.
Like it,
Very nice.
We'll see a
Okay.
tiger head next time you know.
Yeah, I want to see it. All right, great. Any other discussion? Well, is this going to be doing, are you going to put some fancy artwork on the field for graduation?
We're not going to have it done.
Oh, okay.
That's like a
It
week
just
from
said
now.
starting in May. I got excited. All right. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Perbola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yeah.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. 21, discussion on possible increase in the cost of student and adult lunch prices. Do you want to talk about that, or?
Yeah.
You want me to?
Yeah. So basically, what we're looking at is the United States Department of Agriculture has an equity pricing tool they utilize. Jackie Shaver, our Director of Food Services, she worked with PD, their accounting and food services in that department. They put in our information, they put in our demographics, they utilize this equity tool, and it's recommending, PD confirmed that the numbers and the information input there was correct. It's recommending a 55-cent increase in our pricing. Our elementary is still CEP, free breakfast, free lunch. Our IC and STEM is still CEP, free breakfast and free lunch.
The high school would be where this is affected. It's in the governor's bill still to have free breakfast for all kids, so it would just be lunch pricing. Students at the high school that still qualify under direct certification based on income or by the government still will qualify, or through application. They would just have to apply, and they would still get free and reduced. So this would affect that population that doesn't qualify for application or direct certification at the high school level. We're currently at $3. So what they do with this too is they have a 2% fixed inflation increase each year, and then the consumer price index on top of it. Last year was 2% plus an additional 4.04, so the price on product rose about 6% roughly. This year they're saying it's the 2% fixed with an additional CPI of 7.04, so it's looking up, going up, 9% roughly. So they're recommending strongly we have an increase because we're at $3, and then we're just going to take on more, accrue more cost with our meals, and it's pretty much what it is.
Correct me if I'm wrong, they're saying and this is to break even, right?
They're saying this is,
per the USDA, they're saying you should be charging this amount.
To offset, yes, that's what they're saying. Yep, that's the recommended price per the USDA equity pricing tool.
Was the $3.55?
$3.55, and we're at $3 currently.
Yeah, there was just a significant cost increase of groceries.
Yeah.
Did that tool take into account the students that do reduced price? Does it take all that into account?
Yeah, like I said, Jackie Shaver met with the accounting person for BD and Food Services, and I know that she said, I don't want to tell you exactly what it takes in because she met with them, but it takes in all the districts, demographics and information. It all gets inputted into this pricing tool to spit out the number.
And the current adult price is what?
The adult price currently is $3.05 for breakfast, $5.25 for lunch, and it's recommending whatever we increase student, we increase adult.
That's the amount?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're adding 55 cents to both.
That's what it's recommending us to do.
And you sent out the spreadsheet, and the input costs look like they went from 305,000 to the forecast this year is 522,000.
Yes, and that 1 year with Esther was a little weird, and then, because we had half the students and stuff like that, but besides for that, you see the increase year after year.
Yeah.
Chuck, this is starting next year?
This would be starting next year.
Next calendar year.
I just remember last year we had a very thorough discussion about a much lesser increase. And I mean, this is not a motion to approve, this is just a discussion, because when we started talking about it, once it went through the equity tool and I saw the amount, I was like, ooh, that's a big change. And I get it. I mean, I'm going to the grocery store too. I see the increases. But I said this needs to be a discussion item before we put it on the vote, because we need to get a feel for how the board would like us to move forward, and if they even want us to bring something forward, or we can bring something forward and we could have a decision at a later date. But this was just, I guess, just dip our toe in the water and see what the general feel is.
I cannot do the math fast enough in my head, but if you did not change the cost, what would be the delta? You know what I mean? From what would be the extra gap that the school district that would have to pay?
Right. So if we charge, so basically, if we continue to charge $3 instead of $3.55, what would be the deficit?
Yeah.
We could calculate that. I don't know that off the top of my head, but we could figure that out.
Good. Then I'll know that. I think that's important information. I couldn't do the math in my head.
The free meals that's already in the budget, free breakfast for everybody. So the
Free
state
breakfast
budget,
for
that's
everybody.
covered. So feeding these kids is important.
Correct.
I hate to say it, some of these kids come and they get the two best meals of the day here. So I think it's important that the community understands that the free lunch program based on need is not changing, correct?
No, K through 7 is all still free, breakfast and lunch.
So
and then high school is free breakfast.
Is the high school?
The high school students that are not directly certified or qualified through application process.
Or an adult?
Yep.
Or
So,
adult, correct.
If you have 2 kids in the high school, you're probably looking at an increase of about $22 a month if they bought lunch every day and only bought 1 lunch every day. I don't know any high school kids that are they either buy no lunches or like all of the lunches. But that's the change.
I mean, food costs have gone up. We've seen that. Anybody goes to the grocery store sees that. I mean, for anybody to bring their own lunch from school or from home, that's gone up too. Because food has not gone down to buy for home either.
To Paula's point, you're either going to subsidize this through taxes or you're going to subsidize it through charging a price. And so we should review that data and see what that is. The advantage of raising the prices is it doesn't affect the people who can't afford that as easily. And so if given the choice, I would be in favor of raising the price versus looking at, again, it's not one for one, but it's essentially that over the long term. I'd rather raise the price because then we're impacting folks who can theoretically afford it.
I think we also then need to, I understand that we're going to still have free lunch this year, but so that when the time comes that might go away, or maybe it never goes away, but we should mark a price for what it would be at the other buildings so that we're not going to make them go, like if this ends in 2 years, we're not raising it like $1.25 or $1.50 or something. So we should put what the price would be, plus the adult meals, although the adult meals are the same at all the buildings, I would assume.
Correct.
Because
And we would say
adult-
this is K-12, but the other buildings are CEP, so
Right.
they're getting it free. I mean, there is, again, legislation on the floor, both in Pennsylvania and in Washington, to provide universal free lunch for all students. And I would be thrilled to see that pass.
Right.
And it has passed in other states, like Maine, California, they do have that. It's out there on the floor, it just hasn't passed yet. To give you a rough idea, we served about 340,160 meals between breakfast and lunch. So about 340,000 meals last year, or this year up to this point.
If we could look at ways to increase
It's
better penetration of those kids that would qualify for the free or reduced, that perhaps currently aren't applying for that, to try to get better coverage there? Because the ones that
Yes.
really do need the help, I
That's
think we
most
should be
likely
able,
happening.
we try to work
because,
hard.
you know, it's high enough at the primary and at the intermediate that the whole building qualifies, yet it is not high enough at the high school. So that's probably a likelihood.
Because, I mean, we've had arguments previously that when you get to the high school, kids don't want to, it's an image or concern to them being seen as getting free or reduced lunches. If there's a way we could increase that penetration by changing the process somehow or improving the process.
Well, the good news is that ever since we went to a digital PIN, nobody knows whether you're getting it free or not. Like when I was in school, if you got reduced lunch, you waited in a special line, got a little blue ticket that you carried around with you to get punched when you went up the ticket, like that is not how it works anymore. Everybody puts a PIN in and then you don't know if somebody's paying full price, paying 40 cents, paying nothing for their lunch. But I mean, it does encourage families that if that $22 for your 2 kids in the high school is going to be a hardship, then, please apply and see if there isn't a program that they could qualify for. And the more families that do apply and do qualify, the more likely it is that we would end up with free lunch in the high school.
Correct.
Because it's based on the amount of the district that qualifies for the program.
Exactly.
And even if you don't qualify through the government, if you still apply, you still may qualify just because the threshold of income, even if it's reduced. You know,
Right.
so like it's worth applying.
Okay.
So we'll bring a resolution forward at the next meeting and for further discussion, and then we'll certainly take, we'll go back with any action or non-action that the board, vote.
I have one more question on that, I'm sorry. The applications you said go down at the high school level, which is why the high school is not included in the free
Correct.
lunch program. So if you come from when you pop in from 7th to 8th grade, do you have to reapply every year? Is that what it is?
So you do have to reapply. I know Jackie Shaver brought up, as I asked her the same thing, I said, why are we reducing at the high school? Like, what is your opinion on it? She brought a lot of the same things we brought up here, but one thing she said she sees, and it's a good point, I never thought of it, a lot of times families, maybe one parent isn't working as the kids are younger, and as they get older, then they pick up employment again, so they cross that threshold of qualifying. So that reimbursement rate decreases, and it's a good point. I never thought of that. She said she's talked to a lot of families where that a mom or dad will go back to work, and now that income goes over that threshold. But Jackie Shaver's fantastic. I can tell you that, helping families apply, she really is. So I urge anybody listening or anything, you can reach out to me or Jackie, and we'll help you through that process.
Chuck, do you know how close we are to that threshold for everyone in the high school qualifying? Like how far off?
So our reimbursement rate at the high school right now, I don't think this is the exact thing. I think it's in the 60s. We could probably apply now. I know because of how low, though, the reimbursement rate is, we'd probably lose roughly about $107K in revenue from high school services. So it's something we'd have to consider. And at the same time, though, like we can apply CEP, take that low reimbursement rate, lose revenue in the cafeteria services, or support applications and, direct certification.
I think her question is valid, like what is the threshold that it should be to be for the entire building versus?
I think it's in the 60s at a point where we can put it in. I can find out. I think we're at that point, though. I think it's like 68 or 67, or we could be able to apply for CEP.
Gotcha. I was just wondering if we're that close, if we encouraged that application, could we hit that point without suffering? Like, if we pushed that application process, would we meet it without sacrificing that 107?
Well, yeah, I mean, we can make it probably district-wide. Our reimbursement rate, there's a bunch of different moving variables. I can certainly send you a spreadsheet to look at, I can send you a spreadsheet where you can look at just doing the IC and the PC, or the STEM and the PC, or district-wide. So I can certainly send that to the entire board. Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion on that subject? We'll have some kind of an actionable item on the agenda in June.
Yes.
Okay. Item 22, motion to approve dual enrollment agreements with the colleges listed for the 23-24 school year, Keystone College and Lackawanna College.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Favola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. All right, motion to approve the use of an anonymous survey from Wyoming County Heart and Soul with our high school students. The data collected will be provided to Wyoming County Heart and Soul. Pages 113 and 114.
So can someone enlighten us, exactly who this person is and what? I mean, I've read it, I've read the survey, but have you? Has any administrator actually sat down with?
Yes. Yes, I have. This is a group that's spearheaded by Deborah Shurtleff, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to engage Wyoming County residents. They're spending about 2 years talking about how best to get services in place and events in place that are going to benefit this people in Wyoming County. It's actually pretty dynamic. I went to one of their meetings. Hans is very involved. What they're doing is they're creating a community project that's determined specifically by the desires of the residents to benefit Wyoming County. So when they started, it was, we're not sure what we want to do. We want to gauge from people what project do we want to try to tackle. It's actually pretty interesting. I'd ask any board member, Laura, if you want to go the next time there's a meeting. I'd be thrilled to have you go.
Yes, I would be interested in going. What was the motion for the seniors?
This is for
Just
all the high
all high
school?
school?
Only the high school students?
Only the high school.
Okay.
I mean, I tried really hard to find some kind of ulterior motive or objectionable thing in that survey, and I really don't see anything that has
No,
a slant or has a...
I don't see anything wrong with it. I was just curious wanted to make sure that, one, somebody knew the people putting the survey out and they've met with them. And secondly, I don't know why it's just geared to high school, because I think it should be district-wide. But it is what it is. I don't have
Yeah.
a problem with it, but I think we have parents in the primary.
It's not going to the parents.
It's just
It's
going
going
to-
to-
I know it's
Yeah.
going to the high school students, but I think somewhere along the line, we need to have parents of younger age children fill the same survey out.
Well, the good news is that she put her email address on there.
Yes, she did.
So, at the very bottom of the survey.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So,
So is there, I guess the question I had was, is there a reason, like, how's the rest of the county getting surveyed from a?
Lackawanna Trail did this already with their students. I know they went to various organizations. I mean, specifically how they're doing it, I couldn't answer that. I mean, I got invited to a meeting that was sponsored, a Wyoming County Heart and Soul meeting that was actually sponsored by Hands. And I had gotten invited, Mary Jean and I went up. It was very positive. I mean, there was a lot of community members there, probably about 30, and talking about, like, specifically how to engage with people, how to engage with businesses. It was very positive. I mean, that's the best thing I could say. As far as what the scope of the project will be, I don't think they yet know. But it's truly Wyoming County residents trying to help Wyoming County.
They've been operating, I think, a couple of years now as an entity. I think Ernie King's been involved with it to some extent. I don't know exactly what, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do have a website. They do have social media. Their addresses are listed on the survey.
So, John, Audie, I have a question. Can I ask John a question?
Sure.
All right, so the question I have is if we let this group do this and some other group wants to survey the high school students for blah, 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 just whatever, pick a something, is that like, is this one of those things where you
Are we
open it up
obligated?
for one group and now every group, and so it could just be more tricky?
I don't think so. I think in this instance, if we see something objectionable about the particular survey, I think we would be allowed to say that we don't want that. However, I know what you're talking about.
so if the Satan Club wanted to do a survey of, what's good and bad about, their church or something, like, are we going to have to let them do the survey too?
Right.
Without that question.
I know how I feel about this.
Huh?
Yeah,
Well,
I just.
Maybe.
Here's the problem is
Maybe.
all of us are thinking this is great. I don't know the next survey that comes through that like.
Are we forced to do
we
it?
have a contingent of.
Well, here's why I don't think you would have to. Because there is no slant to this. There is no perspective.
So we wouldn't have to equally represent two sides of the
That's right.
coin.
There are really not two sides to this. If there were, and if this were from, whatever organization, the Satan organization, then I would say yes. Then you have to open up the forum to any other organization that has its own perspective. But this doesn't have a perspective. This is just a survey to see where this county is going to go, or where people think it needs to go or should go. So I don't think so, but that's a great question.
Yeah.
You had me thinking on that one.
I didn't just pull that out of my hat. There's actually a court case that came through, but I think it's a school in Lehigh County that they allowed a Satan Club to use the building after school. Then they revoked that because of community outrage, and now it says that they have to let the Satan Club meet after school because they let other groups meet after school. So that's why
Called
it's on our
equal
mind.
access.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
You can give a motion.
Oh, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Now we got motions. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Pravola?
Yes.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bennett?
No.
Mrs. Eckerd?
No.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
No.
Mrs. Arnold?
No.
Failed.
That motion failed. I would recommend that this could be something that is done through an email that, with a, or not an email, but a link that could be shared for people who want to participate or something to that extent to still support the endeavor without opening ourselves up to potential problems.
Understand. I'll convey that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't want, it's not a statement against what they're trying to do.
No.
Fine.
Fine.
All right, item 24, motion to approve a contract with Luzerne Intermediate Unit for contracted professional services for the 23-24 school year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Widener?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mrs. Goldberg?
Yes.
Dr. Pavola?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Okay, with that, we open the floor back up to any other public comments on agenda items, non-agenda items, geometry. Oh, look, here comes Mr. Kaiser.
This algebra.
Craig Kaiser, Tunkhannock Borough. Just reclaiming some of my 4 minutes and just showing my appreciation for the discourse and the commitment of the school board to do the right thing fiscally and in a community and student-minded way. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Craig.
you. Mary Jane, you better time this one.
Mary Jane's already heard it this week. Oh, this light doesn't help. I'm Miss Ivanis. I live in Falls Township. So I had the opportunity to meet with Mrs. Egan and Mr. Doherty earlier this week concerning a concern of mine. And I emailed all of you, but since nobody's responded to me, I thought I'd been nowhere else. I'd rather spend the night tonight than sitting here with the tennis team and all of you. So that email was concerning our music department, and I know that we are all well aware of how fantastic our music department is. Many of you are relatively new to the board. Some of you have been here a long time, and I know Mr. Burke likes his numbers, so tonight I came with a little bit of data because I want to make it clear. My concern is not just the fact that we have already eliminated 2 of our music department teachers through attrition, but that our performances overall are going downhill. Our 8th and 9th grade band at this point is doing an excellent job with the music they're performing, but they are not being given the music that those levels should be able to play at this point. And I had mentioned in the email that last week our 6th grade band performed, and they played music that's standard for our 5th grade band. So something's lacking there. And I'm not saying that we have to go out there and hire a replacement for Mrs. Sprout, who retired this year. But through my meeting with Mrs. Egan and Mr. Doherty, we discussed a lot of options with our scheduling. And I'm not sure if all of you are aware that right now in our intermediate center, they have a 7-day rotation with 7 different specials that they go to, which means that every 7 days they can have a band lesson. Now, you always have a weekend, so in reality, you've got 9 days between your band lessons. So think of it as something new that you need to learn in your life, and you only have the opportunity to do it every 9 days, and then you're expected to perform after a couple months, okay? So you're not going to be successful with that, and you're going to give up, which is the case that we're now seeing. Our enrollment in our 8th grade band now is down to 32 musicians. We're usually in the 60 to 70 range, and this is new since the consolidation. Now, I know Mr. Burke loves to tell us about our declining enrollment. He's done it for years, ever since his community advisory committee he was on, and that's true. But fun fact for you, with the exception of our COVID year that we didn't really have true band, our band numbers for the last 10 years have increased in the high school every single year until right now. And that tells me we're doing something wrong, because the only thing that has changed in all of this is what we're offering our kids starting out in the intermediate center level. So I'm very eager to see what Mrs. Egan can come up with as far as improvements to our scheduling, but I'm here tonight just to make sure you're all well aware that this is a problem we need to address. Because I am not being dramatic or exaggerating when I tell you in 5 years you can head out there on Memorial Day to watch the parade and very easily only see 30 kids marching down the street instead of 100. And that's on all of us here to fix that before it's too late. And I'm going to check my notes and make sure I didn't leave out anything I wanted to say, because that was just off the top of my head. Oh, I know what I left out, some of my data. Back when we first consolidated, our ratio of students to music teachers in our district was 319 students to 1 teacher. Now we've lost teachers, and even though we've also lost students, we're up to an increase of over 30% in our ratio. So we now have 424 students to 1 music teacher. Now, of course, you can't just look at that as a hard number, because you have different music opportunities offered in each different building that we have, you know, so it's more of a general music education happening with Mrs. Newhart down in the primary center. But once you get up to the intermediate center, you have band and chorus offered. And I know that with the declining enrollment, we're also seeing maybe a sectional with only 5 trumpets in it. And, oh, well, that's a waste. We can't use a resource for just 5 kids. But what's the alternative? Are you just going to cut it all together? Do you think you can stick 5 clarinets in there to learn at the same time? That would be the equivalent of saying, let's go down and have a soccer game and a football game at the same time on the same field, because it's 2 entirely different languages you're putting together. So it's critical that we find time in the kids' schedules to get them in there and have their individual lessons more often than once every 9 days, because it's just not cutting it. That's all. I'll happily email any of my stats to you if you'd like. Have a seat.
Thanks, Missy.
I would just like to say that it concerns me when I hear you guys talking about the surveys and saying that this one had no slant, because for the next surveys, if they do come in, like Paula mentioned, who decides if it's a slant or if it's an okay slant? I know that there's an overwhelming concern across at least Pennsylvania, if not the country, regarding data mining and our children and our rights as parents. So whenever a survey comes along, I know that that raises a very big red flag for me to say, what information are you guys taking about my children and sharing with other people? Because I'm not okay with you sharing my children's personal information or other information with other organizations, because I don't know who's involved with it. I don't have time to vet out the thousands of different organizations that are across the country. So I know that, you know, with this one saying, oh, it's no slant, so this one's okay, to me is still concerning. So if the intentions are 100% fantastic and pure, I understand that, and, you know, kudos for that being true, but on the other hand, what about the next one? Who decides that? Do you guys have the time to vet all of that out? Because with everything that's going on, I would be shocked if you did, because I don't know how you could possibly have that much time on your hands. So that, I would say, like, to me is very concerning, hearing you guys say, like, oh, well, that one's okay. I don't think any of them are okay. So I just want you guys to consider that. And then in regards to tennis, I know that there was discussion about moving or having another location. So right now, football doesn't practice on the football field. There's a lot of space out there. If there's an opportunity to bring another, like, set of courts, even if it's for pickleball or whatever, I think it should be seriously considered. So, you know, the grants, like, I know that, you know, if a tennis grant could be gotten, there's other opportunities, and I think they ought to be explored for those costs. And in particular, like, I know it was brought up that, hey, we're spending, you know, 60,000+, whatever the number is, on right to knows, but how much did we spend on the metal detectors? I've only seen them used for this meeting. Usually there's about 4 or 5 people that attend from the community, and that's it. So I love seeing everybody out here. Thank you, everybody. But I know that typically there's only a couple people, and, you know, the one that everybody knows that you guys brought up and called out by name, like, my understanding is he's not allowed to come anymore. So why do we spend that amount of money for something like that? Why don't we sell them back? Sell them to somebody, take that money, put it towards the tennis program. Like, there are other things like that that we could do. So just things to consider. And another thing, and that estimate, so I was wrong in saying 500,000, it was close to 600,000. When I looked at that previously, I do have experience, I'm a construction manager, it's what I do. The contingency on that is way out of line, it's way high. The general conditions for that project should not take that long, it was really high. So if you are just looking at getting like 3 quotes, I would consider like looking a little broader in the area and maybe putting it out for more than 3. Get more than that, like see what the options are. And putting it all in for a second location, it's like putting a couple lines on the actual RFP. It's on the people that are gonna be bidding that to put the extra work in to determine that. So I think things that you should consider is not just like a second location, but the different types of coating, you know, like alts to, you know, different types of fencing, whatever it may be. So I think it needs a little more attention because it is a lot of money to spend. But, you know, I do appreciate the candid discussion about it tonight and, you know, the support of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
I do want to comment that I believe that was said, Jen, by one person on the board, and so it's not the general consensus of not worrying about the surveys. So I don't have time to vet those surveys, and so that is not the opinion of the whole board.
Yeah, and once it was talked about as far as like, yeah, it does open up other things, you know, that is why these surveys do come to the board for approval. There aren't allowed to be any surveys that go out to students in the district without board approval. So they'll always be on an agenda, they'll always be voted on and discussed to find out whether or not that's something we should do. I do think as a community and as a culture, we're kind of getting away from being okay with a lot of that kind of contact with kids. So, any other public comment?
Hi, Jerry Hopper, Monroe Township. For the price of the lunch that's going up and stuff, for offsetting what you would have to pay, for those who don't take advantage of the children's produce market we do once a month, it would certainly help offset that $22 or whatever. So if you don't come to the produce market, it's easy to sign up on TASD Produce Market and hit the link and sign up for it. Don't be embarrassed. We help 200 families a month. During COVID, it was $350 every 2 weeks. So it would help anyone.
There is no shame. I was there the other day, and I mean, our teachers are going. Everybody goes to the produce market and gets really great stuff. So it's not need-based. You don't have to have an income limit or anything. You go, you sign up, and you show up and pick that up. And I think there's even, if you have trouble getting there at that time, there's even people that'll try to help you to get yours.
So just to help with the offset, if someone wants to sign up, feel free.
And we send that out in all.
Thank you.
Don't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we do. I get them.
Thanks, dear.
Any other public comment? Any other board comment? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you for coming, everyone.